It would say something else, but it doesn't. It doesn't actually download anything, so don't freak out.
Yeah, just
Okay.
getting to where all the
When
offerings
you press
are.
that button, it takes you to a separate URL, separate page, nothing but PDF documents. Okay, and they're sorted by what we call product families. Okay.
If we have time, maybe we'll get into that later on, but I know we don't have a lot of time. But anyway, I'm Tom Dimitro. I started with you guys about 5 years ago. We have a rep group over in Long Island, in Jersey, called Wales Derby. That's how I first got associated with you. So in the 5 years, subsequent 5 years, your presence has really, really grown with us. You did upwards of $350,000 last year with us, and that's only with a couple of the select items that you see here. There's even more, and there's some offerings on the website, on your website, that I need to get updated to. So who knows? I mean, really, the sky is the limit. A lot of the products that we're going to go over here, although you're on internet and you're selling anywhere, really in this part, anywhere west of Texas, pretty much our items decrease in popularity, and that's including our competitors. But it's the opportunity there is still immense. There's a lot of stuff you can do locally as well. So a lot of good product that we offer. Now again, we know we're under time restraints here, so Dave is going to go into his thing first. I'll go into liners, AL29, etc., our polypropylene, and I'll wrap up by going over our FlexMaster as time permits. So Dave.
So I've got a couple of PowerPoint presentations that I put together, and I'm going to go through them rather quickly. So, but you have some key information right now. You have our business cards, and so if you have questions later, you can call myself or Tom directly. We're kind of an open society type thing going on, and can't guarantee you'll get me or Tom right away because I'm usually on an airplane somewhere. Tom focuses on FlexMaster across the country, and I focus on everything, everywhere, anytime as part of my job. Tom's more in the East Coast, I'm more West Coast, because I have people that are East Coast, you know what I'm saying. And also, I'm going to leave this with you guys, copies of this, and this is kind of a summary of our products as well, everything except the FlexMaster. So don't feel like you have to, know everything about everything before we leave, okay? So just, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through our company, a little background. We're a 35, 40-year-old company, started out in the flexible chimney liner business. We were one of the pioneers in flexible chimney liners, and that's still a big part of our business today. We manufacture chimney liners every day we're open, quite frankly. We're a privately family-owned, operated business, meaning the second generation owners come in and actually have an office and actually work. So they're not, investors that are, attorneys from somewhere else. What we're really, our basic product in my mind as the sales manager is our customer service. So we pride ourselves on going the extra step for the customer, trying to get the answer, whatever it takes within the realm of good business practice, of course. We are part of a NovaFlex group of companies, which is owned by the Donnelly family, which are Canadians, and we have multiple manufacturing locations in North America. And we also have a manufacturing company in the UK, United Kingdom. So, here's where we started with flexible chimney liners, and we make aluminum and stainless steel liners, flexible, and we also make rigid chimney liners, 3 through 22 inch diameters. We can go up to 24, although again, all of this is in this flyer. If you guys are welcome to take notes, but I'd save you some hand cramp. The 3 through 22 inch and up to 50 foot is our standard lengths. We can make other sizes and other lengths, however there's special order, and once you place the order, you own it. So, we do try to meet our customers' requirements. Another product that we've had for years, and we call it Insolvent Connector. We also make it as a liner, and that's a liner inside of a liner. with a ceramic insulation blanket between the two. And as a connector, it's actually rated as B-vent. And that's a product that we've made for over 15 years. And we sell more and more of it today because when you put in a Category 1 furnace, or you do any modifications, moving it or anything, now you have to run double wall from the appliance up to the V-vent, the existing V-vent. And so this takes the place of that. It's very fast and easy to install. Product that we've made now for about 20 years is our what we call Z-vent. Whenever I say Z-vent today, that means AL294C. AL294C is a special stainless steel that was developed actually years ago for heat exchangers when appliances started to condense. As the efficiency of a gas-fired appliance goes up, the dew point gets reached and you start to condense. That condensate, you're shaking your head like you know all this, so I won't belabor it, but that condensate is very acidic and will eat through most metals. And AL294C stands for Allegheny Leadum. It's not aluminum. And it is 29% chromium and 4% molybdenum. So it's chrome moly. So it's a very specialized stainless. All of our products are tested, third-party tested and approved. We go through the UL process, or Intertech, which is another, which is more of a European lab, but they're in the US now. One of the other specialty products that I shouldn't say specialty, but it's kind of a niche product, and we make a chimney liner kit out of AL294C, which is positive pressure. Okay, we don't sell a lot of them, but sometimes you just don't have any place, you don't have the space to run standard rigid pipe, and this fills that need. That has a limited offering right now. It's 4-inch through 8-inch. Looking to expand that down to as small as 3-inch, but you know, we have to get the tooling for that. NovaVent is another one of our products that we came out with probably close to 10 years ago now, and that's limited offering. That's also UL 1738 approved. It's also a special gas vent. It's targeted primarily for Category 3s. We really brought it out for the tankless water heater market some years ago. It is a 300 series stainless. They don't even tell me what series. It's a sort of a proprietary thing going on there. And it's a lower cost product in the stainless steel family. So the limits to it are 3, 4, and 5-inch single wall only. So it does have limited range as far as the applications. And so that's why it classifies residential like commercial. That is, it's the same joint connections, the same terminations, the same adapters as the Z-vent. So it's very interchangeable in terms of those smaller diameters. And then the latest Category 2, 3, 4 venting to come into the U.S. is polypropylene. And you guys are probably somewhat familiar with polypropylene, but we call ours Z-dens, and it does have a number of variations to it, but it is still single wall, and it has a temperature limit of 230, whereas the stainless steel is 550. So if you're in an application where you're going to bump up against higher temperature limits, you're going to have to use a stainless today. So the other polypropylene people don't kind of share that with you, but especially if you're dealing with hydronics, either a water heater or a boiler, if the heat exchanger starts to get loaded up, starts to get dirty, the return temperature of the material coming back through the boiler or the water heater, that output temperature can go up, and it can exceed that 230 range, and that's why people that are out in the field are starting to see some failures and starting to see some turning of brown and orange of PVC, and so this product doesn't have those issues because it's 230, where PVC is rated to 140. Okay, so it's got almost 100-degree temperature difference. And then lastly, our expert Tom here with FlexMaster We've been making FlexMaster for practically as long as the company's been open, but we limited it to Canada up until about 7 or 8 years ago when Tom came on board. He has a strong background in that product line, and so hiring Tom gave us the opportunity to bring it to the United States and to start putting some focus to that product as well. So that's a real quick overview of our offering. And in addition to that, Tom, if we have some time, is going to tell you about the other side of our company. I guess you're going to say it that way, is NovaFlex. We actually make a lot of rubber and plastic hose, which is an industrial, commercial type of product. And we actually have separate, we have overlapping sales forces there. You know, they have their own plants and their own organization, but we also, you know, look for opportunities to sell that as well. So I know that was very quick, but I'll get into some of the differences in the different, if I can get this to work. So Alexa, I asked her, you know, what we should, you know, focus on with y'all. And she said really wanted to talk more about tankless water heaters because that's a big part of your business. And with Z-Flex, there are choices, okay? And these three products, actually, all of these products are classified venting for category 2, 3, 4 appliances, okay? Now, you all familiar with categories? 1, 2, 3, 4?
A little bit.
A little bit, somewhat, okay. Well, category 1 is an atmospheric, you know, warm air rises. It's, if you got a fireplace, that's what it does. You know, you start a fire and as long as the flue's open, smoke goes up and it doesn't come out in the building. It's gotta be vertical only, okay? Can't be horizontal. No category goes horizontal. Category 2, 3, 4 is either condensing or positive pressure or condensing and positive pressure, okay? So when you get into those categories now, you can go vertical, obviously, still, because warm air will still rise, okay? However, those systems have fans in them somewhere, okay? They're either pushing or pulling the flue gases, all right? So if you're pushing, your positive pressure. If you're pulling, it's negative, obviously, okay? So, and then when you get to a certain efficiency, which is around 85% efficiency, flue gases are so cold that they start to condense, okay? And what they say is they may condense, okay? And there's a lot of factors that go into that. We don't have time to go through all of that. But all of these classify for category 2, 3, 4. Okay, so Z-Vent is stainless steel, as I said. It's AL294C. It's been around the longest. It's been the standard for commercial boilers. Modulating 2, 3, 4, 5 million BTU boilers for 20 years, okay? It's still used today, primarily when you go into a large commercial or industrial plant of any sort that's got large boilers. Most of them today are modulating boilers, meaning that they fire at different rates, okay? And therefore they condense, and they condense quite a bit. So this is still the material of choice for commercial applications. As I state, it starts at 3 inch and goes up through 24. So it can be, and it is used on residential applications. Where we sell most of the smaller diameters is in the higher end residential or light commercial. You know, it's stainless steel versus a polymer or a plastic. And so the perception is that it's better, you know. It is more expensive. Okay, so that when you make a sale, it's a higher sale, which is kind of nice, you know. And it's rated to 550 degrees. Okay. Also, it's got the lowest thermal expansion contraction of any of the materials that we sell. Okay, so we know through our high school physics that everything in the world expands and contracts with temperature, right? So we know that. It's just the ratio of expansion contraction that's different from material to material, okay? Steel expands and contracts at a higher rate than stainless steel, The more specific the alloy of stainless steel, the less it expands and contracts. That's why when you deal with Z-vent or Nova vent, you don't have any concerns of expansion joints, okay? Because the amount of expansion contraction is so negligible that it's hard to even measure, okay? Polymers, on the other hand, PVC, ABS, CPVC, polypropylene, they all are polymers, okay? They expand and contract at a much higher ratio, okay? And you have to allow for that, okay? And that's one of the other problems with PVC today, is that if you get anybody that reports that they got a cracked fitting or, you know, it's separated, that's because it's fused together, it's glued together, and it can expand and contract. And the ratio with the temperature is much higher. As the temperature goes up, the expansion ratio goes up. Is that all making sense? Okay. It's all, everything that we have is tested and listed, third-party tested and listed and approved, so, and it's all labeled, which is important in Canada. And Z-Vet's in many specifications. It's been around, like I said, for over 20 years. So if you get involved in a light commercial or a commercial job, sometimes you'll find it'll say AL294C, UL 1738, it'll say Z-Vent or one of our competitors in there. It's a very common thing. And it has a 15-year limited warranty, okay? All warranties are limited, really. So Novavent is also category 2, 3, 4, okay? It's only in single wall, and it's limited to 3, 4, and 5 inch, okay? It's rated to 550. It is stainless steel. Got a lot of the same traits as Z-Vent, all right? It is UL 1738. It's a less expensive alloy. AL294C is probably the most expensive stainless steel that you can buy. If it's not the most, it's pretty close to the top. Okay, but it is the most anti-corrosive material out there to the acids that are given off of it. It is limited, and it's got a 5-year limited warranty. Okay, so you got 15 years on the Z-Vent, 5 years on the Novavent. So if the warranty is an important issue to an end user, that's a point. And Z-Dens, which is the newest, the latest venting to come in the U.S., which has been used in Europe for years and years. They never really used stainless steel venting over there for the category 2, 3, 4s. They use the polymers, okay? This product here comes in a lot of different configurations. They're all single, well, I was gonna say they're all single wall. It is single wall rigid. It also comes in a flexible chimney liner, okay? And so whenever I say flex, flex is always vertical, okay? So if you have somebody that wants to buy flex and run a horizontal, you can't do it, okay? Code won't allow, okay? The only time you can run flex semi-horizontal would be as a connector, and that has to have at least a 45-degree angle, okay? Okay, those are all code requirements, all right? So that's something to remember. But we do make kits, and we also make kits where you can run the flex up through an existing B-vent that's no longer being used, or an old chimney. You know, if you had a remodel job or something, you know, so you wouldn't necessarily have to cut a hole in the side of your home or the structure. You could run it up through an old B-vent that was no longer being used. Can't be in use. It's going to be no longer in use. Okay? It also comes in a concentric pipe. Okay? And what that is a pipe inside of a pipe where you're drawing in the combustion air, okay, into the system on the outer pipe, and then the flue gases are exhausted through the center pipe. Those are all positive pressure, okay? Those are all gasketed systems, okay? And it is rated at 230 versus 550. So that's an important point. It depends on the application. So if you have a customer and he's going to vent something that's high efficiency, or he's going to vent something that's like an incinerator, or it's you know, some sort of a co-generator or something like that, you got to be real conscious of the exiting flue gas temperature, because they're going to be much higher. Okay. One of the nice things about it, since it's rated at 230, when you go through testing, okay, you can get it tested at a much lower temperature because that's temperature rating. So this product is actually zero clearance to combustibles. One of the big pluses out there, you know. So if you're installing an appliance that's got a low exiting flue gas temperature that's below 230, which most of the 90% efficient equipment is, okay, on an average, exiting, and it's varies by product and by installation, but on average, exiting flue gas temperature of a 92% gas-fired appliances is around 125, somewhere in that range, 140. So you know you're much lower than the 230. PVC is rated to 140, so it can be. It's very, very close. You don't have much tolerance, you know. And one of the things that we look at, because we have to warranty these products, is we have to look at it today and tomorrow. So when you put in an appliance today, and the efficiency plate on it says it's 92%, okay, or 94, 90, whatever it says, that's brand new, okay, and that's installed properly, and that's maintained properly, okay, and those are the big caveats, okay, because everything, as it ages and wears out, the efficiency goes down. You can use the analogy to that brand new car that you bought, and you know, the first couple of years you got, you know, 26 miles per gallon, and then, you know, you hang on to it for 5 years, you know, and you're down to, you know, 22, you know. Well, it's just wear and tear, you know, it's the name of the game, it's mechanical, you know. Well, as the efficiency goes down, the flue gas temperature goes up, because that's where we're getting that efficiency. We're getting those BTUs out of the flue. It's lighter than stainless steel, which a lot of installers like that, you know. Doesn't mean too much when you're dealing with 3 and 4 inch, but when you get up to, you know, 10, 12, you know, 16, 20 inch, and it's double wall, you know, it's it can be a tiring day, you know, and you need a lot more support. You know, you need to make sure. It's got a higher rate of expansion contraction. Polymers expand and contract about 40 times what steel does. And that's, again, why you're seeing the cracks and the expansions on the PVC. And that's a physical property of polymers, plastic. You know, it's not something that we have any control over. It's not like my polymer won't expand and contract and theirs will. It's not how it works. It does require a greater degree of slope, okay? So the elbows on, these elbows are actually not 90-degree elbows, they're 87 to allow for that 3-degree slope, okay? Our elbows on our Z-vent are 89, okay? So if you have a sealing issue, if you have a long horizontal run, and you have to calculate the drop across that ceiling, you know, those are all things that have to be taken into account in the design stage, you know, in the selection process. Stuff you guys not necessarily have control over, but you want to be aware of what the customer's, you know, faced with as well. So point that out. And it has a limited offering compared to Z-vent. And by that, what I mean is Z-vent is we make that 3-inch through 24-inch, which is UL 1738, in both single and double wall. We actually make Z-vent up through 36-inch diameter, okay, but it has to be engineered stamped. It has to be an engineered job, and the engineer has to approve it, okay. This product, since it's come from Europe, is Intertech tested and listed in S636. Now the difference there is Intertech is a UL type company. UL is just a testing lab, okay, and they test all types of products in the U.S. is best known in the U.S. And there's a protocol that they test category 2, 3, 4, you know, venting, you know, and they test them all to the same protocol, whatever it is, whatever brand, it's the same, you know, and there's a series of tests that they run. In Europe, Intertech is the biggest testing lab, okay, and the S636, that's Canadian, because as we all know, Canada has to put a twist on everything they do, right? So, but the word that I've gotten from engineering is S636 is more stringent than the UL 1738, okay? And that's because they're Canadian, And this product has a 10-year limited warranty. So not to confuse things, you've got 5 years with no event, okay? You got 10 years with Z-Dens, and you got 15 years with Z-Vent, okay? And we can stand behind Z-Vent very strongly because we've been selling it and having it installed for 20 years. And it's been put in and primarily in commercial applications where the requirements are a lot more stringent. And, if you make a mistake in commercial, you got a pretty expensive mistake going on, you know? So, so all of these products, okay, every one of them that I talked about so far, okay, they all have gaskets in them, all right? No adhesives, okay, no screws, no pop rivets, no adhesives. They all have a joint that is classified as a mechanically fastened joint. And that's a requirement of the testing that goes on, all right? All use a joint lube. In the case of the Z-Dens, I didn't bring the Z-Vent lube, but they all use a lubricant, okay? And what that lubricant does is it helps slide the joint together, okay? So if I were to take this elbow and I have a length over there and I'd ask this big strong guy over here to put it together, you know, or I'd ask you to put it together and ask him to take it apart. You know? You'd be pushing on this thing, but I'll tell you what, you'd be really working to get that stuff apart. That lubricant, what it does, I'm making a line of it, but what it does is it ensures that it's joined completely together. Because what happens in a lot of cases is that the installer out there, he pushes it together and he pushes and pushes, and he's trying to put it together dry. And so he thinks he has it seated completely, but he doesn't, you know. And one of the failures that we have of these type of products is the fact that they don't seat it completely together. Okay, so we recommend, and actually it's required on our products today, the lubricant.
If there's an issue with that with the warranty, they don't.
You know, it's hard to prove it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's really difficult to prove that they used it or didn't use it. You know, number one, it's inside the joint. You know, you apply it to the gasket. All right. So when you slide the male section into the female socket here, you know, you can't see it. You know, it's hidden. So it's really difficult to. Now, if it's not seated all the way, and I go out on what we call a warranty inquiry, I can kind of see right away that they didn't slide it together all the way, but I can't tell if they used, you know. But if we have customers that place orders for the product and they don't order the adhesive, the lubricant, okay, that's one of the things that we try to teach our customer service people to say, hey, by the way, you didn't order any lubricant, you know. Now, when we do a quote, our quoting software automatically adds the lubricant. Okay, so that's in the algorithm of the software, you know, just automatically applies enough lubricant for the number of joints, calculates them, you know, and all that. So that's something just to keep in mind. And it's relatively inexpensive, so, you know, I tell people not to sort of cheap out on it. You know, it does make their job go together much faster. You know, and today labor is where it's at. So, you know. So all of these systems, again, they use lubricant. They require a proper slope, no low spots. That's another issue that we run into, where they'll have a system that's running horizontal and it won't be supported correctly, and so it'll start to droop here, but it won't. So it collects condensate. And as that condensate collects, and it runs through what we call wet-dry cycles. Okay, the wet-dry cycles meaning that when these systems shut down because they have a fan in them, there's no moving air. So you don't get a natural moving air through there, so whatever's in there sits there and it dries out. Then the next cycle comes through, the condensate comes through, it collects in that same spot. And it gets more and more acidic. So eventually it can start attacking the material, okay? So that's usually one of the problems that we see in the field due to a failure. Proper support, you know, the different materials have different requirements. It's all in the installation instructions, you know, how to support it both vertically and horizontally. We talked about completely seating the joints and, you know, installing condensate drains, you know, and that's a big question mark out there because different brands require the condensate to be handled in different ways. Okay, some of them want you to bring all the condensate back through the unit itself to sort of flush the unit, okay? And some of it, it has to do with design, you know, the design of these systems. If you're running a live horizontal run, you know, which is a requirement in the field sometimes, you just don't have a choice, you know. One of my personal rules of thumb, and I've been dealing with special gas fed for 20 years, if you think you need a drain, put a drain in, you know, because if you don't need it, it ain't gonna hurt you, but if you do need it, it's gonna hurt you, you know. But all of these systems, like I said, the Z-vent, the NO-vent, all of them have the same requirements for category 2 through 4, which makes that part of it kind of easy. The spacing of the supports, that'll vary by the installation instructions.
So I have a couple questions about that, if I can.
Yeah.
We, especially with tanks, we usually tell them that if it's a condensing unit, you're gonna allow for the different types of venting because the flue gases are lower temperature and then higher for non-condensing. So we usually will tell them it's category 3 stainless steel is what we would recommend to them for the venting for non-condensing, and then if they do condensing, they can use the polybutylene or the PVC or whatever. But is that not what you're saying? Is that something different than what you guys are talking through right now? Because I'm trying to connect the dots on that as far as when you say category 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So like, is the plastic able to be used on the non-condensing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
As long as the flue gas temperature doesn't exceed 230. Okay. And where that comes into account, and you guys could run into it, because you got mountains around here, right? I don't know what the elevation of Reno is. What's the elevation? I know Denver's like 5,000. It's a mile-high city. So you know, when you have elevation and you have temperature, okay, and you have pressure, okay, there's a difference. I mean, you know, you end up with a higher temperature because of the pressure you're at. You got a higher pressure and a higher elevation, right? Okay, so your return temperature coming back to your appliance is higher, and therefore your heat transfer is lower, your flue gas temperature is higher. Not get too technical, you know, but it doesn't show its face like for the first couple of years. Okay, sure. That's why the PVC is now getting some attention. So when you're talking about this material is polypropylene, okay? PVC is chlorinated vinyl. Yeah, what is it? Chlorinated polyvinyl. And then CPVC is chlorinated polyvinyl. So it's got more, the chloride's what attacks the metal. Okay, the chloride's what causes the corrosion. That, and there's some sulfites in there too, and some other nasty stuff you wouldn't want to drink. But it's the chloride that really attacks the metal, seriously.
Sorry, in that same thread, on your website it mentioned polypropylene was better than PVC because it didn't have those chemicals in it.
Right.
At what point do customers need to be concerned about leaching when heat is applied to PVC?
Well, the temperature that they're exceeding, the PVC is 140, okay? And so over a long period of time, when you're talking about leaching, what happens is that condensate in there starts to attack the PVC from the inside, So it starts to strip off the surface of the material itself. And when it does that, then you get whatever's in that material leaching out
Okay.
and making the condensate even more acidic, you know. And so where they're having issues, you know, quite honestly, is where the return temperature back to these units, or if they're using a medium like glycol as a heat transfer, okay? Glycol has a lower transmission of heat exchange, okay? So therefore it doesn't, it doesn't, it's cheaper, but it's not as efficient, if you know what I'm saying, as a heat transfer medium, as water, okay? So over a period of time, it takes a while. It doesn't show up when you fire the unit up, okay? It takes cycle after cycle after cycle. And that's why these units that have been in place for now 5 or 10 years, okay, you're seeing where the PVC starts to expand and you get big bubbles at the side. Actually, if we had time, I could show you some interesting photos, okay? The first thing that people see typically is that the fittings, the elbows or the connectors start to turn orange and then brown, okay? So they start to discolor, all right? The second thing that happens is those fittings start to crack, all right? And you're dealing with a flue gas that's under pressure, okay? So if you're talking about category 1, okay? Category 1, if you were to run a screw into the side of B vent, you know, I don't know if any of you have old category. I've got an old water heater in my house. If I ran screws into that, it wouldn't do anything except suck air. It wouldn't push the flue gases out into my mechanical room. It would actually draw air to help it draft, because the air inside of the ambient air inside my mechanical room is lower than the flue gas, okay? So it actually draw air, right? It's like your fireplace, you open the doors to your fireplace, it actually draws air out of your room. So it's the least efficient way of heating a home known to man, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's really pretty. But, you know, it actually would draw air. When you put flue gas under pressure and you put a hole in there, now all of a sudden you're pushing the flue gases out into the structure. And, you know, that's detrimental to your health, put it that way, you know? So those cracks, even if they're really minute little cracks, over a period of time can put out, and if it's in a confined space, it can make you sick at the very least, you know?
And what application would you use single wall versus double wall?
Double wall typically is used, a lot of it's specified, okay? So if you're dealing with even a light commercial job and the job specifications may just automatically call for double wall, but typically if you're running through an unconditioned space, okay? The double wall is 1 inch airspace, so it's air insulated, okay? So when you're running through an unconditioned space, technically you need to run double wall, okay, because it will slow down the heat transfer, okay? Because the loss of heat in the flue, okay, is what causes that skin